All right, guys, so it is the end of November. We're coming in through December. Our season started in September, at least for me it did. And I use my equipment a lot. I use it like a tool. They have a rough life. Everything I own has a rough life. I am very hard on my equipment and I take everything to the breaking point. So what I like to do is I like to go out through the season and do kind of a mid-season checkup and then do an end of season checkup, change some things around. Some things might need tweaking, maybe not. But I always like to go through my stuff and check everything over, make sure everything's right and everything's tight. But with that, I like to test things. So, everybody thinks about testing during the summer and stuff, but the best way to test everything is throughout the season. Whether it's stands, bows, arrows, whatever you're using, the best way to test that is just go out and test it hunting. The whitetail woods is probably the best teacher and the best grounds to test everything that you have. So one thing that I did change was my arrow combination. I changed it up. So what I did was my original setup was a 204 diameter shaft, Black Eagle Rampage, and it was 409 grains. I had a lighted knock on there and then a 125 Sever Titanium 2.0. And I shot my buck, I shot splits, and it went through 40 yards, went through both of his ribs, double lunged him, went all the way in fletching deep on it 40 yards, had no complaints. When I went and shot my buck in Indiana, it was 27 yards. I shot him through the center of his scapula, and it punched through his scapula and got about 8 inches of penetration, which is awesome, but I wanted to see if I could hit that opposite shoulder. My bow setup, I'm 69 pounds at a 27.5-inch draw, maybe a little bit under 27.5-inch draw. So what I ended up doing was, this is a deep impact from Black Eagle. I cut the shaft down a little bit shorter. This shaft is a 165 instead of a 204. This is a 165. I went with a shorter vane, went with a 2.25 4 fletch, added a wrap, went with, kind of tried to save and add on both ends. I didn't do a lighted knock this time. Still went with the same 125 Sever Titanium 2.0. Love this head so far. And then it's got a full shaft collar outsert on it. And I wanted to go with a smaller shaft to get better penetration, give me some heavier arrows, a little bit more FOC on them for better penetration, but the smaller shaft and everything else was shorter vanes, was trying to keep stability, add penetration, but not lose my yardage and my feet per second. So it went in, it was running about 3 yards slower on my tape than my other arrow shaft. This is 423 grains is what this come out to. So I'm excited to shoot a deer with these and see what that actually does. So another thing that I changed from this season was actually my release. So I was hunting originally the first of the season with a hinge release, and I've hunted with a hinge release for a long time. But for me, just with shot execution and just I guess my mental game itself, I wanted to get a little bit more bang for my buck and just always trying to improve again. So I ended up going with a Stan Onyx, and it don't have a click. I'm pretty sure that on the hinge release that when I had the click, it kind of gave me just a little bit of target panic throughout it. I was fine. I could shoot a hinge release fine. Everything was good. But whenever it really came clear to what a thumb button really done for me as far as my shot, and just having a crisp, no movement shot execution and a single digit movement with my thumb whenever I shot my Indiana buck and whenever I went out and practiced, and when I shot, my arrow just went right behind my pin and hit where I wanted to. So I changed a lot up, but some changes here and some changes there could really, small changes, absolutely anything can really go ahead and just make your whole shot 10 times better than what it originally was. And sometimes it don't, sometimes it stays the same, but you never know unless you try. But going through my equipment, my bow, my main rundown on it, every time I do a checkup, go through a list of everything that I want done to it. So I'll go through and I'll check my main thing, string cables. I want to check and see if my center serving is good, make sure that I don't have any separation on my center serving, check my end servings on everything, check my cams, go through and make sure there's no separating on my servings there. Another big thing is I understand that a lot of the guys that are going out here in the woods and hunting the working man, you might not have a bow press at your house. You got to run to the shop and you got to have your shop tweak everything that you have, and you might not have the time to be able to do it, but whenever you get a new set of strings and cables on a bow, you want to put at least 100 shots, 125 shots in it to get that string stretched in, and then go through and tighten everything up. I already done that at the beginning of the season. I understand that the working man probably ain't going to be able to do that because you only got limited time to practice, and then you got limited time to hunt. You don't want to be changing stuff, but it will save you in the long run. You know, if you're shooting throughout the season and you're putting quite a few arrows in to a target, go through. I already on this bow went ahead and tightened up the cables a little bit, checked my cam timing and everything on that. Another thing that I ended up doing was, for me being able to hold when I shot splits, the bow held awesome. It was moving around a little bit more than I wanted it to, just to try and slow that pin down. I'm real OCD on just trying to get everything the best that I can. I took a tip from Levi Morgan. What I ended up doing was I slowed the top cam down, so I took a twist out of the cables, slowed the top cam down, sped the bottom cam up. That brought my pin was dipping down a little bit, so I done that to bring that pin up and set there, and it sets like a rock for me. Just small changes like that will make a big difference for you. Another thing I'll go into is check my string, make sure that my peep isn't rotating, my peep isn't turning throughout the season. If it is, then I'll twist my strings and get everything right and tight again. Last thing I'll check is my D-loop. And that's a big thing that I have now, is my D-loop is actually worn out. So what I'll do is I'll go through and I'll measure it, cut this off, measure it, put another D-loop on there. One thing that I am gonna do is this D-loop is a little bit long. So whenever I'm shooting from a stationary position, standing, everything, it's good. Everything feels tight. I'm holding on the wall good. Whenever I'm in a tree stand saddle, shooting downward angles, it feels like I'm stretching a little bit, and I don't like the anchor point. So I'm gonna shorten that just a hair so it'll still feel good, and I can still get a solid back wall whenever I'm shooting from a stationary position. But whenever I'm shooting at a downward angle, uphill, I don't feel stretched. So I still have the same comfort feeling as if I'm in a stationary position from when I'm going uphill or downhill shots on that. So that's it for this video. I hope this helps. I'll go through another one of these checkups again at the end of the season. I'll probably end up switching my strings out and stuff as much as I shoot. And hope this helps you guys out. I hope y'all are having an awesome deer season, and I hope y'all kill a big one. I'll see you on the next one.